Let's take a brief look at Mad Max. Original 1979 Mad Max. It's notable that in this film, unlike the sequels, there's no apocalyptic event setting the stage, no nuclear war, global disaster, or a virulent plague, just a critical level of corruption and rot. A crumbling civilization pretending it still functions, full of businesses that no one patronizes, laws no one obeys, and cops no one trusts. It gives us a glimpse of how a society's rules and an individual's normalcy bias can skew perception of social realities, and it shows us that laws and governments are ultimately articles of faith, or perhaps even a mass delusion. The film opens with the first in the illustrious history of Mad Max car chases. It's tame compared to the over-the-top insanity of Fury Road, but for its day it's kinda out there. It results in some crazy asshole calling himself the Knight Rider getting blown up. Upon news of his untimely demise, the Knight Rider's bereaved family of degenerates ride into town, raping and pillaging like a band of mechanized Mongols. And their leader, a shaggy fellow who self-applies the moniker Toe Cutter, is bent on making Max pay for killing his bro. Max is a cop, apparently of the highway patrol variety since the whole police force seems geared toward car chases.
When do we go for a ride?
Max has a wife and young child. He goes to work, he pays his bills, he tries to make a good life for his family. He doesn't quite understand that the society he grew up in no longer exists.
They say people don't believe in heroes anymore.
Civilization has effectively collapsed, but there's a lot of inertia keeping people numbly going through their patterns despite the failure of institutions. People still go to work and use money, things still get made and goods get delivered, just not reliably. It's like society endures out of habit, unraveling at the edges while people desperately pretend they don't see it. Max can no longer hide from that reality when the Toe Cutters gang targets him, his colleagues, his family, transforming Max into the proverbial good guy with nothing left to lose. He stops playing by the rules and mayhem commences. Mad Max shows us what is, for some of us, the worst-case apocalyptic scenario. A world where people have lost faith in a system that no longer provides security or stability, but before the system ceases to exist. A system that is too badly damaged to be healed, but like a wounded animal, is extremely dangerous. The police are portrayed as authoritarian without authority. For example, going after violent criminals is a waste of effort.
The punks didn't show, the girl didn't show, the townspeople didn't show, nobody showed!
We're screwed. It's the law.
What do you mean no one showed?
No one.
Where were you, man?
It means, old man, you haven't got a case. No contest.
But they will kill a joyriding degenerate without much thought. Theft is widespread, whether outright banditry, or a more subtle black market for what had been readily available goods.
I can't remember where I got them, but I got them. Know what I mean?
No, we'll be all right with just as soon as we get this fixed. How the hell did you get all this together?
Just happened, Max. You know, piece from here and a piece from there.
It's in some ways a darker world than the later Mad Max films because it's a world that doesn't have a nuclear war as an excuse for its ruin. It's a world defined by a lack of trust in each other and an often justified lack of faith in failed institutions. Sociologists and political theorists have devised all sorts of models to describe how social structures work, but none of them are as succinct as the occult concept of egregores. An egregore is a non-physical entity, call it a spirit, a demon, whatever, created and empowered by the faith of the people that believe in it. To them, it is absolutely a real thing, but it has no objective existence of its own. It's real because they believe it's real. The larger the number of people who believe, the more powerful the egregore becomes. That's the best description of a government I've ever heard. Mad Max shows us a world where people have stopped believing in the egregore of the state, the law, the social contract, whatever you want to call it. But having been summoned into existence, that spirit doesn't just banish itself or dissipate in the wind. It's a ghost moving through the world, demanding attention and obedience. angrily swinging its chains like a psycho Jacob Marley. Seen in this context, Max, the cop, is one of that egregor's last priests. He's partially insulated from the outside world by the priesthood he's part of, and that allows his family to maintain an illusion of stability. Until the Toe Cutters gang smashes the rotten sticks propping up Max's belief in the old system, that spirit that has already lost its hold in the world. At that point, his faith collapses, and he's left to face a brutal world on his own. In a sense, Mad Max is the cinematic equivalent of Nietzsche's statement that God is dead. But there's a hopeful element here. While he becomes brutally violent in his retaliation, Max remains a good man, not out of fear of punishment, either divine or under the law, but because it's simply who he is. He's a heroic figure in the most basic sense. He doesn't sink to the level of the world around him. Mad Max shows us that we don't have to become monsters to survive, and that the foundation of civilization isn't laws and power structures. It's individuals choosing to be civil when they aren't being forced to. As I record this, the banking system is having a bit of a liquidity crisis this morning. A loss of faith, you might say.